Ray, Toyota cannot sell cars. Well, at least some of them. So
Yeah.
what are they doing? Well, on the BZ4X. What a name! Name it something else. That's
Okay.
such a terrible name. Anyway, they lowered the price by $6,000 for 2025.
Yes.
My question to you, Sir Ray, is it going to matter?
Um. Hmm. Well, yeah, because they'll be able to advertise a Toyota EV, full battery electric vehicle, for under $39,000. So if you want a relatively inexpensive full battery electric vehicle with the Toyota name on it, and you're going to assume that because it says Toyota and Toyota has a great reputation for quality, that this is a high quality vehicle and you can get it for under $39,000, that might encourage some people to look at it. Now, what people probably don't understand is that the range sucks. The time it takes to charge it sucks. Um, and, initially they had axle issues where the rear axle would come undone when the car first came out. So, other than those three things, it is a perfect damn EV. Okay, other than those three items.
So isn't it like the worst rated EV that's out there right now?
One of them, yes, yes,
One of them. One of
yes,
them.
yes.
All
It's
right.
it, it's
So
not on. I don't believe it's on anybody's best EVs to buy list.
yeah. So here it is. Toyota's cutting the starting price by $6,000 for 2025, bringing the compact crossover under $40,000. Is exactly what Ray was just talking about. But here's the thing: EV tax credits are going away. So you're actually next year, what you're going to be paying $1,500 more for this car than you are right now. Am I wrong in that assumption?
Well,
What's your
I
give or
don't know
take?
if the current one qualifies for the federal tax credit. I don't know that. Um, Now, it would if you leased it because that's the loophole in the whole thing, which is why leasing is so big on EVs because they allow you to pass that $7,500 tax credit through on a lease that somebody might not qualify for on a purchase. I think that Toyota's just trying to get ahead of the curve to a certain degree, realizing that the $7,500 tax credit's going to go away more than likely next year, with the new administration coming in, and so in an effort to make their car seem more appealing, they're just going to lower the damn price. It sort of kind of makes sense, um, because if somebody hasn't bought something yet, it's because the amount you're asking, the value hasn't exceeded the amount that you're asking for it in the customer's mind. So how do you do that? You keep lowering the damn price until the price has fallen below the perception of value for the customer. They know they've got a dog on their hands when it comes to this.
I bet it is absolutely nothing to lease one of those things right now.
It's got to be relatively inexpensive, I would
I
think.
mean, it looks nice too. It's just I guess it just has no range. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they could have done a good job on one of these cars, and they really missed. They missed on this. But you know what? They're laughing at everybody else for leading so much into EVs. Also, when they're just hitting the cover off the ball with their hybrids.
Yeah, I mean, when it came, they took. There's a couple brands that took a wait and see approach to full battery electric vehicles. Um, Toyota was one. Subaru to a degree is another. Mazda is another. Where they took a wait and see approach. It wasn't like they weren't jumping into the deep end before they could really understand what the future was going to be. And Toyota bet the farm that it was going to be hybrids. And so far, that's the right bet. Now, I know there are people out there that say, well, hybrids are the worst of both worlds. Yeah, but the public doesn't think so because they keep buying them.
Yeah.
Ford has said, "Man, we're gonna come up with many, many, many more hybrids. We're gonna make hybrids available throughout our entire lineup." Um, so that manufacturers are pulling back from their EV investments and moving forward towards hybrids. So you have to say that those who took a wait and see, slower approach to battery electric vehicles were the wisest of the manufacturers out there. Now, that's not to say that that can't come back to haunt them in the future, but it's certainly been paying off for Toyota presently.
Yeah, and here's your problem right here. So the BZ4X offers 252 miles of range on the XLE, 228 miles of range on the all-wheel drive, and they have a limited and a not nightshade version that provides 222 miles. I have a Model S. You know
Yes.
this. And its range is like 350 miles,
Yes.
and that's I mean, 100 miles doesn't seem like a lot. This one's from 2019, so it's
Yeah.
5 years old. And they make Teslas now that have 400 miles of range. That's a big difference when you're talking about how much a car can actually travel, and
Yeah.
people who are buying these EVs and getting into them. Range is everything. So this is where they need to put some R&D into, because unless they fix that range, they're not going to sell any of these cars.
Well, Toyota has been putting money into solid state battery technology. That's where they see the future of full battery electric vehicles. And solid state batteries would offer a much longer range, much quicker recharging times, and ultimately should cost less to build. Ultimately, so that's what they're counting on. I mean, I believe when you start looking at solid state batteries, you're looking at almost 700 miles of range that you'll be able to get out of an electric vehicle. And there'll be smaller batteries and way less. So, which means that also adds to the range because it takes less energy to move all that weight. So perhaps ultimately that'll play out, but even they're thinking that might not be till 2030 that they'll really be able to count on solid state batteries to be able to be utilized in the manner in which they're thinking for a full battery electric vehicle. But that's where I think they're betting their money.
All right, so all of you watching it here, I know most of you are not subscribed, so I need you to hit that subscribe button. Whatever we need to do to get you to hit that subscribe button, Ray will do it. So just hit it for us and let us know what he needs to do down in the comments to get you to subscribe. I have a question for you. We'll get away from this, but still kind of stay in the EV realm of things. So we got tax credits that are dropping off.
Yeah.
What do you think that's actually going to do to the EV market? So we have a question right here. I'll read this real quick. So they're asking, Brandon, does that mean that there will be a spike for EV sales in the last couple weeks of this year? I'm curious to hear your take on this.
I would think there would be for anybody that has interest in an EV, and if they were to qualify, or the vehicle they were interested in were to qualify for the $7,500 worth of federal tax credits. And that would be one of the deciding factors as to whether or not you buy the vehicle. Well, then you're going to do it before they go away. So there will be a sense of urgency. I don't believe there's any secret that the Trump administration, the incoming administration, is saying we're going to do away with the tax credits. Okay, well, fine. So if they're still available, and while they're still available, and you want an EV, then yeah, time is of the essence. You're going to have to move maybe more quickly than what you had intended. Now, after those credits go away, will that impact how people buy EVs? I would think you would see a little bit of a slowdown in EV adoption. That's just me. You know, if $7,500 was enough to persuade somebody to do it, and now that $7,500 doesn't exist, that would be enough to persuade them not to do it. I would think so. I think you'll see an increase in hybrid and pure ICE internal combustion engine sales go up, and EV sales will slow.
Yeah, and my opinion on this, I do think that EV sales will take a hit, and it's not necessarily that these manufacturers are going to lose the customers. I think someone walking into the dealership, let's say Nissan, and they're looking at what is the Nissan, the Aria or something
The
like that?
Aria, yeah.
Yeah, they're looking at possibly that, or they're looking at like a Nissan Sentra or something that's a comparable price or whatever. If they're not getting that tax credit to incentivize them to buy the electric vehicle, then they probably will just go back to what they know, because they're
Yeah.
not. There's risk that comes along with someone buying new technology, whether or not that's true or not. In their head, there's the perception that there's a risk of trying something new, right? So they have to be incentivized to try something new, and that tax credit was a big way for them to try something new. So I don't think the manufacturers are necessarily going to lose the sales overall, but I do think the EVs are going to take a hit of what actually gets bought with that tax credit not being there.
Yeah, I think EV sales will slow down. Will they remain 8% of all vehicles being sold? I don't know. I think if CAFE standards are relaxed, and emission standards are relaxed, and mileage standards are relaxed, then I think that bodes well for manufacturers to continue to build more fuel efficient internal combustion engine vehicles, and that they will continue to do that for a longer time period than what people had initially thought. You know, the idea or the concept that by 2030, 40% or 50% of all vehicles sold in the United States would be full battery electric. I thought that was folly when they came up with those numbers. If the number is 25 or 30% by then, it'll be a lot. Now, even though tax credits might go away, that doesn't mean EVs are going to go away. That doesn't mean that eventually we won't find a stronger likelihood of people wanting to buy a full battery electric vehicle when the infrastructure has been increased, when battery range has been increased, when cost of vehicles has been decreased to make it more in line with an internal combustion engine vehicle. I think EVs are here forever. I just don't see them taking over as quickly as many pundits had thought.
Yeah, and let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. So a customer walks into a Nissan dealership right now. They're seeing this 2024 Aria, and it's $40,000.
Yes.
And they're going to that same Nissan dealership, and the Nissan Murano is $43,000. So right now, they can get this one not for $40,000, but with the tax credits, they're coming in at what, 33 grand, somewhere around there. So that's a $10,000 difference for them to try something new. That is, I mean, that's enticing to save $10,000 on a purchase that they're going to make. And they're not coming there and thinking that, okay, well, I would buy the more expensive one. I mean, there has to be something on these EVs right now to push new customers into it. And right now we have that. but we go through this situation next year when there's no tax credits. I would assume there's almost no way that that customer coming in that needs some kind of push to try something new is only doing it for $3,000 difference. And now these are MSRP, so obviously you'll be able to get money off of them, and the EVs will probably be more negotiable. But right now at Nissan, everything's negotiable. So I really think that having these tax credits drop off is really, really, really going to hurt EV sales.
They're definitely going to slow down. So anybody that wants one, do it before January 20th. There's that the time is of the essence. Take advantage of it. And those of you who are still on the fence and that the $7,500 is not enough to make you jump off the fence, bide your time. Continue to bide your time, because ultimately, eventually, sometime down the road, the cost of EVs will come down and they will become much more affordable for the mass market out there. And that time is not now at the moment.
Here's probably an unpopular opinion, but I think it's actually a good idea. If you want an EV, buy a freaking used one. I know that people are scared to death to buy something like that because they just think the battery is going to just disintegrate when it's got 50, 60,000 miles. But like a Tesla, they have warranties up to 80 to 100,000 miles, I think.
10 years.
On the batteries. So you can get one way cheaper. My car, I've got a 2019 Model S. And brand new, that car was almost $100,000. I think $96,000 is how much that car was. I bought it this past year. I think I've had it like 7 or 8 months now. I paid $22,000 for it. So it's lost 75% of its value in 4.5 years, depending on when that owner actually bought that vehicle. And because so many people are scared of used Teslas, you can get them really, really, really cheap. So if you are looking to just try out the new technology, don't buy a new one. Go buy a used one. It's okay. It's okay. It will be fine. And the batteries, you can actually check them on the current car you can charge it all the way up, have the previous owner charge it all the way up, and then you can actually see where the mileage is, because the computer system auto corrects or auto lowers the battery mileage. Now they're optimistic, so take off about 10% of whatever you see there. But for each Tesla, the actual range of what the car's showing you is pretty close to the actual range.
And there are apps out there that can test battery health as well. So, because that, for most people, if you're looking at an EV, that's got to be the concern. How much battery life is left? And, I know Justice from our team at Car Edge, who has a Model 3, and I forget how many years old his is, but he's only had 6 or 7% battery degradation in his vehicle, and I think it's like yours, 4 or 5 years old. So if the battery only degrades that little in 5 or 6 years, it should be good for another 10 years, you would think, unless they fall off a cliff at a certain point. I don't know.
Yeah, and the thing too is, you can get build quality was one of the big concerns, but that's something that you can look at. On each Tesla, each used Tesla is different because the build quality was different with them. My Model S, the doors don't line up, and I know that's for a car that was that expensive, that seems like a ridiculous thing to say, but that's absolutely true. But all these things on a used car, you can check. You can go put your hands on it. So I think you can actually buy a used. You can use. Now I say this to Tesla. I know Tesla on the used space. I don't know anything about any of the other brands as far as EVs go. I just know they can't sell them. Then that's all I know. I whine about that all the time. But as far as the used Tesla scene or whatever, I think it's pretty safe. And if you wanna buy a used Tesla, you have my blessing. Just check it out like you would do any other car. And the biggest thing is the battery. The battery is what you need to find out about. And it's easy for you to find out about because it's literally right there on the dash.
Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button. tell every living person you know that they need to subscribe to Car Sense with Brandon and Ray.